Developing production methods for Hoveys Knives of China paring knife. William Hovey Smith, 2017. I'm the owner of a new company, Hoveys Knives of China. And here we do a pre-production model of our paring knife.
This is Hovey Smith, the Backyard Sportsman. And I'm also the owner and operator of a new company, Hoveys Knives of China. And the knife of the day is our new design of paring knife. It began with a piece of found steel like this, and under the Billy Joe Rubidoux brand, we proceeded to make this paring knife from it. Its features in particular are extra thick tang, a specially designed grip with a bulbous back that fits in the palm of the hand, and also that fits flat on the surface and is flat topped, and a sweeping blade. Well, we produced blanks of this pattern, but now the production blank is out of stainless steel, and it will have a full tang all the way through the scales, as well as a reinforced bulbous grip here, and also fit flat down on the table. We have already done a heat treatment on this particular blade. This is our practice blade. The water jet cutter had a senior moment and cut the blade zip, 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 and put this rather severe divot in it. So I've gone ahead and ground this blade and hardened it. And now we're going to put an edge on it and see exactly how we're going to adjust the grind on this blade. I'm going to see now if I can work this edge down and actually put a sharp edge on it and also correct this point. Now this little divot here, there's not much I can do with that. As a matter of fact, I think I just grind out a little piece right here that's hemispherical, so we don't have that much of a problem with the cutting blade. So that's the first thing we're going to do, is make a half moon grind right here. In any other blade we would not do it, but we will on this one. We're going to cut from this piece of walnut here. If that color doesn't look like walnut, it's because this is sapwood side here. There's actually some walnut colored material on the inside. But we don't use both for this blank. Now we have our knife blanks cut, and this little piece of burl wood right here where this branch came out is going to come out right in here, so that'll make the knife interesting and colorful. During the heat treating process, the steel has shrunk just a little bit, and so I'm having to open the hardened steel here up here in the tang to allow these pins to go through. that is the chattering you hear. It's actually cutting a little piece of steel now before it goes in the wood. And this takes a while. This is hard stuff now. We're now drilling the double thickness of the scales using the blade and the holes we've already drilled as a guide. So this gets started well. And we're going to drill through these and then set one pin, then move and set the other and the other. Now through, and the hole is straight. So we go ahead and drill the other two, and just swap out these pins and place all the musical chairs with them. It is time to glue up. We've taken both scales and we put them on the small flatbed sander. And so we've got these two surfaces smoother than we could actually cut them with a bandsaw. And so now we're going to apply some glue, our familiar shoe glue here, and glue these up, clamp them and let them set overnight. Slave pin is in. These other two I'm going to set with a hydraulic press. We have it glued and pinned. Break it free here. And ready to start work in the bench grinder. Two issues have emerged. One is this point here. When I put it on the flatbed grinder, this point got overheated and it lost its temper. So basically, there's very little temper in this blade from the point back to about here. Then we still have this issue here coming up. We of course knew about this when we started. This is a fairly deep cut in the steel. And what I'm going to try is to go get some liquid steel and actually fill this. Not that it will add great strength, but it will take up this space, and when I use it actually for cutting vegetables or whatever I use this little knife for, then this won't get filled with debris and be a continuous problem to clean. We're back at the cabinet grinder, and basically what we're going to do is to reduce the excess height of these pins, remove the wood here, remove it on this side, start the rounding back here for a palm swell, and generally get the grips down to more nearly their final shape before we start working on the belt sander. Just a few seconds on that flatbed sander is going to enable me to make the bottom of that absolutely flat and also grind the wood to the metal. I think we have achieved
In previous videos, I've shown you the belt sander running, but this is a look at the floor beneath it. And it's significant because you see the quenching bucket that I use to keep the steel from getting too hot. If you run it to where you discolor the tip of the steel and it takes on a red heat, you've destroyed the temper. So you've got to keep your steel constantly cool while you're grinding it. You'll also note the rubber matting beneath it. This is not for foot comfort. Invariably, a blade will get away from you and you'll drop it. And this helps protect the points and the edges. It's also, with sharp blades, a necessity to wear an apron, which I don't have right now, but we're certainly going to get before we start working with many of these pointed blades, because they can easily fling a blade into a leg or some other inconvenient body part. So I'm going to move the camera up to show you some of the details of the actual process of belt grinding. Almost got away from me there. See, we're getting down to the metal now. Now that we're almost completely down to the steel, I'm going to go to a finer grit so we don't leave such deep scratch marks on the metal. What is an exercise like this teaching us? Well, it teaches us some things not to do again. One, this discoloration is actually a burn mark caused when we put too much heat while re-drilling this piece of steel. And so what we're going to do is to enlarge the holes on our blanks to start with, so we don't have to go through that process again. We'll drill it while it's still soft. The execution of the handle did pretty good, except this pin was not pushed through far enough to come up to full diameter on the finished scales. So consequently it's smaller. The rear of the knife turned out okay. The wood looks like it's going to finish up good. I don't see any cracks or anything in it that showed up. The back of the blade, the tang is looking okay. The glue bonds are good all the way around, so that worked. Now, about the blade. You know, this is sort of a significant part of a knife. And yeah, it should sort of work. Well, as it turns out, it doesn't work all that well. What we found out when we attempted to re-edge this after it was tempered, we actually removed the temper from this portion of the blade right here, so that this portion of the point is significantly softer than this part. We also have this groove through the blade, which we knew when we started with. So what we're going to do is we're going to truncate the blade back to about here. We're going to cut off this front portion that is soft, and I'm not quite sure how we're going to manage that yet. You might try it with a hacksaw, but I think this may be too hard for a hacksaw. But that'll get rid of this little point right there, which is a feather and would catch on anything that I ever attempted to cut with it. So we might as well, since this is soft from here, we might as well get rid of that too and go ahead and reshape the point at about this level.
Although we broke a hacksaw blade off in the process, and it certainly didn't like it, we did manage to get the tip of this blade that was soft off of it. And interestingly, have a look at the cross section of the steel itself, which looks pretty good actually, except of course for our divot here that we knew of when we started. So what we're going to do is we're going to shape it with a Dremel tool. This is too hard a steel right now after it's been hardened to work effectively with files. Soft shake, yeah, you can file this, but not the way it is right now. So we're going to shape it with a Dremel tool and cool it quite commonly in water so that we don't run into the same problem we did, that is, removing the temper from the steel by overheating it during grinding. We now have our last two creations, our farrier's knife as well as our paring knife, drying after being stained and polyurethane coated. The farrier's tool has received both treatments, both the staining and the coating of polyurethane. This has only been stained. Now this process lasts from 3 to 5 days, depending on heat and humidity. For now, this is Hovey Smith, reminding you to hunt what you eat and eat what you hunt. Be legal, be ethical, be safe. Goodbye, God bless, and see you next time.
This is our company banner with some of our knives based on ancient Chinese patterns from 2,000 years ago, and here's even more of them, and more on the way. I am also the author of Backyard Deer Hunting, Extreme Muzzleloading, Crossbow Hunting, and Practical Bow Fishing, and we use our knives, and we have chapters in these books about knives and their uses. Using a scrap blade like I did for your first pre-production knife of any new pattern is a good practice because you're going to make some mistakes and find out how to correct them. For more information on Hovey's Knives of China, you can go to my blog. For more information on my books, blogs, and more than 600 videos, you can go to www.hoveysmith.com. Good hunting and good eating from the outdoors. Goodbye, and God bless.